Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome once again to Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday, presented by Cinematic Visions. And every other Wednesday, it's fun time for me, and I know it is for you, because your reaction to Danny and Tim's music scene is always excited and electric. And once again, we will visit this time around with longtime Kansas City music writer Timothy Finn. And it's always a blast for me. His work these days can be seen at In Kansas City magazine, and you can also hear him here, but you can hear him on 90.9 The Bridge every Thursday as well with John Hart. And even in these different times, we always seem to be able to find a whole lot of fun things to talk about as far as music is concerned, and it's no different this time around. In focus this time, Kansas City superstar, born and bred, Janelle Monae, who graces the cover of Vanity Fair magazine that's just out. We'll talk some music top 10 lists. A lot of that's been going around, and record challenges and things like that. Drive-in concerts are popping up around where they use the old movie theaters as a venue to play some music and keep people at a safe distance in their cars or on their hoods or whatever. We've got live stream and music documentary recommendations, and maybe a thumbs down or two as well. We hope you enjoy it. I know how much I do each and every other Wednesday right here on Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday. That's presented by Cinematic Visions, and me and Tim are back at you right after this. Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Visions' goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300.
Hi, this is Matt Llewellyn from 23rd Street Brewery. Thank you, Kansas City, for supporting all the local restaurants during this time of crisis. Starting Thursday, May 21st, the 23rd Street Brewery will be open from 11 to 9 for carry-out and delivery service, and 4 to 9 for dine-in and patio service, if you can believe that. We're open. During this phase, we will adhere to the Douglas County recommendations for restaurants, and please see our website or our Facebook page for details. Most importantly, we want all of our guests and staff to stay safe, and together, we will all get through this.
My friends at Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture are among the most accomplished and trusted clinics in the nation. Only one clinic has been rated in the top 5 in all 3 categories of chiropractic care, acupuncture, and rehabilitation, and that clinic is ASFCA. They have locations in Olathe, Overland Park, Prairie Village, Belton, and Lee Summit. Doctors Brad and Christina Woodle and their accomplished team of doctors and therapists will treat you like family, for the simplest of injuries to the most complicated conditions to avoid surgery. Whether you are seeking treatment for an injury or just looking to stay healthy and fit, this is the place for you. And it's been the place for me for almost 2 years now. I've been a strenuous daily exerciser for years, and as time goes on, that takes its toll. But regular appointments at Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture have helped keep me ticking on, and even as the years pile up, their regular care has allowed me to keep to my regimen and feel great. If you want to feel the same, give them a call or visit them at asfca.com/Danny. They accept all insurances and are open Monday through Saturday, and make sure to mention that Danny Clinkscale recommended Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Tim, our world is starting to brighten a bit as far as some sports and some things are concerned, but certainly venues and large gatherings aren't on the menu yet, and that certainly covers the music world, but people are trying to find different ways to enjoy their music, and I guess I'll start off with one of the things that's been going around, obviously, is the Facebook challenge, which I was made part of by my former cohort at WHB, who I actually still do a segment with on Fridays, Curtis Seabolt, who's on the program with Soren Petro. He hardly made it up. It's somebody else challenged him, I challenged them, and it became so prevalent that I challenged you, and you said, I already did this, so I'm not. Here's my 10. Here's my 10. But I was just curious how, because I'll say what approach I took to it. But what kind of approach did you take to it? Did you really just pick your 10 favorite albums, or did you try to go off the beaten path a little bit because so many people were doing the same thing? I mean, everybody would, 180 out of 100 people would pick Sgt. Pepper or something like that. How did you approach the top 10?
I approached it as I picked the 10 records that when I heard them for the first time, it like shook me, and spun my whole perspective on music. So, I mean, if I just picked my 10 favorite records, there would have been 4 Beatles albums there, and some Simon and Garfunkel, like the earliest stuff I listened to. So, my launching point was really about. I had Stevie Wonder's Intervisions because I remember when my brother bought that album. That really stood out. It was like nothing I'd heard from, my elder siblings or my elder cousins. That was like a landmark record. Linda Ronstadt's Greatest Hits really introduced me to, she was my first favorite woman singer, not only because she was beautiful, but because her voice was beautiful. And then like Fine Family Stone's Greatest Hits, because growing up I didn't listen to a lot of black music. But that record, because of songs I heard on the radio, I bought that, and it's still just an amazing record. But otherwise, most of it is like Pretenders' first record. I remember hearing that and just being blown away by the energy. And it was right around, when punk was transitioning into something else, post-wave, and just her voice and everything about that, because it was so angry, but it was tuneful. So that was kind of top of my list. There's Talking Heads, Pogues, and I'm having trouble remembering an Elvis Costello record, So a lot of this from that era of the mid to late 70s transitioning into the 80s. That's like the first Police record didn't make it on my list, but it would have been the next one. So for me, it was just like, something that spun my world like 180 degrees and made me explore other kinds of music in those genres.
Yeah, I did a combination of things as well. If I'd picked my top 10 records, it would have looked differently. And after I did it, I put it I didn't call it an honorable mention list, but it just showed the, sort of fool's errand aspect of it. I think I put 15 more albums on the list afterwards. And, probably some of them really should have been in the top 10, but, you don't want to duplicate. Right. I did put a couple in the top 10 just because I didn't think they could be left out, even though they probably are not among my 10 favorite records. So it wasn't truly, that my top 10 favorites or anything else. It was more influential. The first album I ever bought was Live Cream Volume 2, so I put that in there. And while I think it was a great record, I'm not sure it would still be in my top 10, but it influenced me that way. So I think there's a variety of different ways to approach the thing.
Right. Like, I think the last record I listed, which could have been number one on my list, I didn't list them in any order, but I picked the Pretenders record first because I remember the moment I first heard that, at a party somewhere, and I had to run over and see what was on the turntable. But it was Chronic Town by REM, which was an EP. That was their first recording they issued in 1981. But to be fair, what led me to that was I was at a bar in Lawrence. It was not long after I just started grad school in like early 1984. And the DJ was playing Radio Free Europe off of Murmur, which had been out for almost a year. And I had not heard that song or had not heard of REM. So I went over and said, "What is this?" And he told me. And the next day I went directly to a record store. And the one I went to had no REM. They were out of it. And I went to another one, a really small kind of boutique shop, and they didn't have Murmur, but they had Chronic Town. So I listened to that, and that blew me away. And then, within the next few days, I was able to get a copy of Murmur, and then, like 3 weeks later, Reckoning, their third record, came out. So I bought all that within like 6 weeks of each other. And I don't think I stopped playing REM for like 2 months. I played that all the time because I think probably no band has swept me away like they did initially.
Yeah, and then one of their records made my list as well, and I think that, the staying power, the intelligence, sort of uniqueness of it certainly carries the day. But I think it was a really fun enterprise, and that some of the things we're doing these days, I think, are to create, to not waste time, but use time. And I guess that's one of the best fallouts of it is that, and probably gets a little old too, is that I probably have seen in sports and music and everything else, 8 million top 10 lists of some sort. I know that's something you're going to approach in some writing soon too, right?
Yeah. So in Kansas City, I've been asked to make a list of the 5. Well, they wanted it to be the 5 shows I hated the most. And, I've turned the piece in. It'll run in a few weeks. But as I explained, going to any live show is typically a winning enterprise. It's not, because most of the, especially the big shows, the bands that tour arenas and big theaters are usually accomplished musicians, live musicians. They know how to put a show together. The sound is usually good. And even if it's music I don't like, the worst thing that can happen is that I don't like the music, but I can appreciate why other people do and appreciate the energy of the live show. And so, but I picked 5 shows and then there was one that was really bad. It was because the performer had an attitude. And,
right. Well, that'll be fun to look forward to. I don't want you to spill the beans, so.
No, I won't. And others were just disappointing for other reasons.
Right. And I think that sometimes that we do see things that we think are going to be really good because we're consuming so much these days that are disappointing. And on both sides of the aisle here, I mentioned that Live Cream Volume 2 was my first album that I ever bought. And so during this 2 weeks since we've talked to each other, we DVR'd an Eric Clapton biography type special or documentary, and the 2005 Cream reunion concert at Royal Albert Hall. The documentary got so bogged down in the insecurities of Eric Clapton that we never finished it. I turned to my wife about an hour in and said, "Are you cool if we don't watch the rest of this?" And she's like, "Go right ahead." And so that was a little surprising to me because it just they continually talked about his insecurities in performance, and I'm like, okay, we get it. Michael Jordan is a great competitor. Eric Clapton is insecure. Show me a concert, and the concert was fabulous. So there was 2 sides of that.
Mm-hmm. I started watching this documentary on the Hollies, and I hadn't checked before. I hadn't checked the length before I got into it, and then it just seemed to be going on and getting bogged down. And I looked, it's like 2.5 hours, and I'm like, no, I like the Hollies a lot, but I invested in their music to watch this thing just belabor every little moment and whatever career transition. So I got enough out of it. But I've been indulging in a lot of music documentaries, especially those classic albums, which are really well done. And you're in and out in an hour, and typically I'll learn a few things.
Right, and there's one that I don't like the production values. I don't like the woman who does the thing, but they do these little top 10 pop lists, and they're British commentators, and they're actually very consumable, and you do kind of learn a lot. The overall host I don't have much time for, but that sort of little musical candy actually is pretty well done. I forget the name of the show actually, but it's on Access TV. But
yes, I know what you're talking about, and I've seen it. Is Downtown Julie Brown part of those, or am I confusing it with another show like that?
No, this is. I haven't seen her yet, but it's 3 or 4 the same music writers, I think, from England. So it's kind of those kind of things. We just wouldn't have consumed as much of those. And one more before we move on is. While it's probably the worst name for a show that I think I've ever heard of, but on Access TV, Dan Rather does The Big Interview. And he's a very good interviewer. I guess we shouldn't be surprised at that, even though he's quite elderly now, and that comes across at times. while a bad name, he has a real knack for drawing things out of people, and I've watched several of those, and The Big Interview is pretty good.
Right. Yeah, I've watched a couple, and I think it depends on the subject, because I probably have watched 4 or 5 of those, and maybe there's a couple where I just abandon after like 20 minutes or so, just because, especially if it's a music person, he seems to want to be kind of broad, and I just got the impression, like, I think I've heard everything he's asked before,
right?
And I don't really know for sure who he's talking to. There was one with David Byrne, maybe that was it, where I felt like, oh man, I wish you would get in a little deeper. I may go back and finish that, but after about 30 minutes in, David Byrne was really, really gracious, of course. And I felt a couple of times was like putting up with some pretty superficial questions, but I think you're right. Rather's a great interviewer, but I think probably better at things politics than music,
right.
But still, I've watched a couple of music interviews that were good.
Yeah, and I think it does depend on the subject. He did one with Michael Stipe and Mike Mills from REM, and it was good because they're, Michael Stipe's always well, I don't know if engaging is the right word. He's always interesting, and Mike Mills is a very engaging person, so it makes for a good combination of the two, and I think it reveals a lot. But those guys the subject of the interview is very important, and how they treat it as well. So that one was really good. I can recommend that one. I'll say that. Right,
and they're probably not getting a whole bunch of attention right now, and David Byrne is, because he's got a show on Broadway and he's got a new record out and everything like that. So that makes sense. But yeah, I don't think I've watched many Michael Stipe interviews. So he's pretty reclusive, but he is thoughtful, and he was on Colbert a few weeks ago and was really good.
Absolutely. So we're consuming music, of course, extensively, and some good, some bad. There you go. There's a little flavor of that. And Tim's got some ideas about some things for you to consume as well, as long as a couple other subjects that he raised, which is always good. He has good ideas. That's why we have him on, and we're going to do more of that coming up next.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the CEO and president of Easton Roofing. What's the difference at this time of year as we head toward the warmer months for homeowners, and what should they be looking at, coronavirus or not?
If you didn't do a good job of home maintenance in the fall, cleaning your gutters out, when we get the spring rains, that can be a real problem. So you want to make sure that you've done a good job on your home maintenance, cleaning your gutters out. We can help with that. I always tell people they never get their roof inspected. They get their furnace inspected once a year, but they never get their roof inspected. And we do the inspection on your roof for free. So you call, you make an appointment, and we'll show up, do the inspection. It's free. You should have your roof looked at once a year. Take advantage of us. And most likely you're fine. And if there's a problem, hopefully we can get out in front of it and save you money in the end.
So for any needs that people have right now, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can always call us, 913-257-5426. But the best way is to go to eastonroofing.com, put your information in, and we'll give you a call.
Easton Roofing. Integrity matters.
For many people, a family law case will be one of the most difficult experiences in their life. The law firm of Kenneth McRae will help you through it. Personal and effective help from Ken in concert with you will develop a unique strategy for your unique case. As Ken always says, divorce can be civil law, not civil war. Licensed in Kansas? Visit McRaeLawOffice.com or call 913-972-4765.
We're visiting with Larry Marshall, former Chiefs defensive back and punt returner, and now a Chiefs ambassador. Larry is a former pro football player with the aches and pains that come with that, and moving on in age, as we all are. What do the Canaway CBD products do for you?
It's been a great relief for me. Being a punt and kickoff returner, collisions were a mainstay of my career, and these Canaway products, the salve especially, has really helped me try to get through every day with the aches and pains that I've had over a career of 7+ years in the NFL.
I get similar benefits as well, particularly with my back. Certainly wasn't a football player. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information about the great products themselves?
Well, I'm so enthused about it, Dan. They just contacted me at larrymarshall.canaway.com, and I can give them all the information they need to help them get through the day as well.
Start gaining all the benefits that Larry and I do from the trusted and reliable line of Canaway products. As Larry said, visit larrymarshall.canaway.com and get information on all the great products from Canaway. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyKlinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Back with Tim Finn. You can read some of his work at In Kansas City Magazine and hear him on 90.9 The Bridge as well. And right here every other Wednesday on Arts and Lifestyle Wednesday, presented by Cinematic Visions. As we continue to be remote, Tim, I will say that one of the treasures of returning to regular life will be to sit across from you and speak rather than on the phone. I very much look forward to that. I think we'll all embrace some of those things. I actually went to an actual cocktail gathering, not a Zoom one, over the weekend. The first one. My wife's friends had some people in their breezeway at social distance, and when you drive around now, you see a lot of that in people's driveways. But that was the first one I did, and I was glad not to. I was glad not to be Zoom cocktailing. I'll say that.
Yeah, I'm not about that much anymore, especially on Zoom. If I can do it with one person on Facebook Live or whatever. I've done that once, but I tried one of those Zoom things, and it was just too distracting and too unsatisfying. It felt forced, and some people were coming in and out, and I lost audio. And so I'm like, yeah, I like you all, but let's do this later, or do it in person next time.
Yeah, absolutely. You wanted to visit on Vanity Fair cover article recent. That's an outstanding magazine. We actually get the hard copy at my house. I think my wife's mom, who passed away several years ago, I think she must have got a lifetime subscription or something of it, because we still get it. And Janelle Monae was on the cover recently.
Oh, it's brand new. Like you may be getting it today, because it just came in my feed yesterday and last night. So I ended up subscribing this morning. They're having a great deal, by the way. You can get the online and the print for like $8 a year. So
wow.
I jumped on that. So I haven't read the story, but she's going to be the main character in this Amazon Prime series, season 2. It's called Homecoming, this psychological thriller, which the first 4 episodes air on Prime starting Friday. But it just goes into what a stunning multimedia star she is. And it got me thinking, like, when it's all said and done, she could be the biggest star ever to come out of our area. Because I'm having trouble thinking. She's been nominated for 8 Grammys. She's been in movies, and she's been hailed as a really good actress. Obviously, they made her the lead in the second season of this popular Amazon Prime series. So, like I said, I haven't gotten into it, but I think of the music she's made. I think of what a great dynamic live performer she is, how charismatic she is in interviews. I had the chance to interview her once briefly, like back in 2011 or 12. She was doing the Turning on the Lights at the Mayor's Christmas Tree, and we had access to her for like 5 minutes, but it was like probably the best 5-minute interview I ever did. But she looks you in the eye, she listens to you, and she gives you really long, thoughtful answers. So I'm just a huge fan of hers, and just reading the beginning of this really long but impressive article, it's obvious that she is making big waves all over the world, and I can't think of a better person for it to happen to. And I'm thinking, this area is home to Big Joe Turner, Charlie Parker, but I think she will be up there when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and you can always highly recommend it. Vanity Fair has outstanding writers, and when they do a profile of somebody, you're going to learn a lot about them. I mean, they spend 3 weeks with them or something, and they drive around in the car with them all the time and stuff like that.
Oh, and the writing is just superb, first class. It's great.
Yeah. You also one of the phenomenons we're seeing right now is maybe on a couple of levels maybe rescuing a dying industry, which is the drive-in theater, and we've seen graduations at places like this now, and concerts are being done at drive-in theaters too right now.
Well, so I know Keith Urban did one outside of Nashville for the healthcare workers at Vanderbilt Hospital, and so it did well, and so he's considering doing another one elsewhere and maybe allowing more cars. I think they limited it to like 120 cars and 200 people or something. And they could listen to it through, the speakers at the drive-in, or just listen to the PA, get outside their car, sit on the hood. They couldn't wander too far from the car. And people who were there said, yeah, they had a big video screen behind them, so if they didn't have a great view of him on stage, they could see what was going on. And the feedback was good, and it's way better than nothing, and it's even a little better than just watching someone stream on your phone or laptop, at home. So he's talking about doing another one. And then just recently I read a story about this nightclub in New Hampshire that typically puts in about 750 people it can hold at. Well, they have a big parking lot, and they turned it into like a drive-in, built a stage outside. They talked a radio station into broadcasting the show on its frequency. And same thing, you could listen in your car, in your radio, or get out and listen. And the guy there said, yeah, we're definitely going to do more. They just had like a cover band. He did 2 shows, and both times the place, the parking lot was filled. And this place seems like it's a little bit like Knuckleheads-ish, although they were talking about some of the acts they would sign, and Buddy Guy, Richard Thompson, so it's that kind of nightclub. He hired just this like regional cover band, but they talked to a guy who ended up going to the second show. He said, yeah, I was listening to it on my radio to the noon show, and my son and I were listening, let's go down and watch the second one live, and they did. He said it was fun, It's a good distraction and a good, substitute for now for a real live show.
I think I know exactly what that theater is, and I can't think of the name of it.
No,
it's at the beach.
Tupelo's.
It's at the beach, I think, I believe, or Hampton Beach. Is that where it is, or there's one like?
This is called. Let's see, I got it right here. It's called Tupelo's.
Oh, okay. Well, then I don't know what it is, but anyway.
Southern New Hampshire. I didn't really say where. The Tupelo Music Hall.
Oh, okay, that's cool. But I think that ideas like that are, what we're searching for now, and I guess that just leads us to our biweekly update of where you think we are as far as, now that things are opening, but music venues, and nightclubs certainly aren't yet in Kansas, and for sure they aren't still. What do you see on the horizon? What do you hear? Anything? What's your feeling?
Well, I put in a request. I sent an email to Frank Hicks to have them sort of update how it's going at Knuckleheads. They're still having some live performances. Most of them are just like free jams, I know last weekend Outlaw Jim and the Whiskey Vendors did a show. I haven't got much feedback except that it was sold out, so there were 100 people 150 people in a place that can hold 1,500,
right.
A big outdoor venue. So apparently it was enough for people to go and hang out apart from each other and have a good time. And I think, everyone's hoping that we will progress into phase 2 or 3 where it can be 50% of the capacity, and which will be better. But I think most my venues are like, we're not going to risk it right now, and it's just not worth the money to spend what you need to make sure that the place is safe and disinfected.
Right.
Marking, safe distances on the floor and watching people go to the restrooms and back, and having to hire, like your employee to patron ratio is like 1-3. So what, you're not making a ton of money, and you might be losing it. So I think there's a lot of waiting until that percentage climbs to where it's viable and worth the time.
And meanwhile, we have a lot of streaming music, and you have some recommendations there, I guess.
Well, so, this Saturday at 7 p.m. from Union Station, Victor and Penny are doing a show. There was one last week that was really good, Jessica Page and her band, who's a great Kansas City singer, songwriter. By all means, check out her music. And that turned out really well. This is a series. I don't have the name in front of me, but it's like every Saturday at 7. And the event is a fundraiser for Union Station because, like everything else, they could use the money when it's not coming in like it used to. So Victor and Penny are Aaron LeGrain and Jeff Freeling. They're a duo. They have a band called the Loose Change Orchestra. I think it's just them though, just because you don't want to add more people on stage, and it just requires more distancing. But Jeff is an amazing guitarist, just one of the standout guitarists in Kansas City. And Erin's a great singer. She plays ukulele really well. She started learning about, 10 years ago, and has become really, really good at it. So it's sort of this, like 20s, 30s, 40s, poppy, swing, jazz music, really inventive, mostly original. They do some covers, and they're both superb entertainers. Erin was an actress and a spokesperson, did local commercials. She was in what's the George Clooney movie Fly?
Up in the Air, that one?
In the Air, yep. She plays the girlfriend across the hall who breaks up with him. That was just on recently, and I texted her and said, "Hey, I'm watching you." And she goes, "Oh yeah, it's great. I get my $86 a year from the residual from that, but I use it anyway." She's a really good entertainer, very, very comfortable and charismatic on stage. So that would be my recommendation for a live stream this weekend. But also last weekend there was this event called KC Bands Together. Mm-hmm. It was 2 nights, and I think it was 20 bands over 2 nights, a total of more than 6 hours of music. And the Elders played a brand new song. They were on it. Just a really good lineup, and that's available on YouTube if you go to YouTube and call up KC Bands Together. And there's also Friday night. KCPT is going to broadcast a very they're cutting 6.5 hours down to 1 hour. So good luck with that. But you'll be able to see a very well put together, edited video version of that. I think it's 7 Friday night. It might be 8, but just check their listings. I'm going to look at that just to see how they do it, because I know the video department over there is just first class.
And it's the Kaufman Theater series with popular artists, right? Is that the one?
No. They're taking this event, Casey.
Oh, this event.
Together.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Yeah. No, they're just they're editing it down to a 1 hour special.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
KC Bands Together. So that's 2 things: Victor and Penny from Union Station, and
right,
KC Bands
that's
Together.
That's Saturday at 7, and you can go on YouTube and find KC Bands Together right now if you want. But this event on KCPT is Friday night, and I think it's at 7.
Okay.
But double check that.
All right, that sounds good. And one more recommendation from me before we go is somebody I actually did include in my honorable mention. We watched probably the best thing I've watched in the last 2 weeks was the Austin City Limits performance from a couple of years ago by Gary Clark Jr. I don't know if you've ever seen guitar playing and presence of the stage, but as wonderfully done by Gary Clark Jr., and I can highly recommend if you can find that on YouTube or something else. He's quite a bad man on stage, that's for sure.
Yeah, I've seen him twice, at the Midland and then at Crossroads KC. And that's not my favorite style of music. I can listen to 3 or 4 songs, but...
No, it's not my favorite style either. That's why it's so remarkable that I enjoy it that much, because he's a great player. I agree with you. By the end of it, it's an hour-long show, and I've had enough. But for that genre, that's about as good as I've seen. I'll say that. Yeah,
and he takes it some really unique places. There's something transcendent about him as a performer and how he plays the guitar. Because I know some friends in town who are really good guitar players and rock guitar players, and I'm not a huge blues fan, but man, that guy rips it up like nobody else right now.
Absolutely right. Tim, we rip it up every couple of weeks, and
we try.
Somehow the music keeps rocking on, even though we have to get it after it in a variety of ways. Always appreciate your time.
Yeah, wait till there's real stuff to talk about. What a blast.
Thanks, Tim.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Kling Scale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klingscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.